3 for DOS, and then all of a sudden, um, it's looking a lot worse going into the affiliates. But that, of course, will have diminishing returns in the fact that Diplex's champion pool probably will be banned out. But no, they will go for the Talia, which, of course, went over my head as soon as it was not first pick.
Yeah, I feel like it's a difficult position to be in, right? Because if you want that Kalista, you definitely don't want to be handing over the Talia. I think if you talk about the best of both worlds that we talked about previously, you're more comfortable handing over the Renard, because if you pick Kalista into Talia, it's not that playable. I think it's pretty ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Now on the other side of the spectrum, top lane is still up and available, and it will be the Gnar into Segunda here. So we have talked a little bit about these champions so far with the current OPs on the patch. We are seeing at least the Gnar and the Talia coming through, although I still feel like having the Gwen matchup into Gnar is completely fine for Gwen. The only problem you have is that you get pushed in a lot in the early stages of the game, but once you come that one item, even in mecha form, well, Gwen will still outduel the Gnar. And now going into the second ban phase, well, you didn't pick that Renata yourself. So now LDLC, they're going to say, you know what, we're going to ban it. And I think LDLC as well, knowing that they're playing into Kalista, does not want to give the counter pick for Jack Troll. They want to save that counter pick for themselves on 5. They can lock in a mid laner. They already know they're playing into Talia. So nothing really to worry about. But interesting to see that Vitality be on their end as well, are banning out supports, because in turn, they're banning out their own champion pool as well.
And do you think that speaks to a lack of counters for Talia? Talia obviously being a very strong champion at the moment. When you think about kind of viable lane counters or champions that you would pick into it, is there not necessarily anything that needs to be taken off the table?
I think that one of the really good lanes into Talia will actually be the likes of Yone, but I just don't think Iger's going to bring that out here. You can try and outmatch her with control mages in terms of what you bring in team fights, but then Talia will still have better roam priority. You can try and go Galio to match that, but then your laning phase will be really sad. So I think at the same time, it is just a really stable champion at the moment because there's not too many direct counters into it. It's more like even answers in that regard.
Yeah, you can see the Ari getting taken off the table. To me, speaks to a very stable matchup in terms of what you're saying there. So yeah, I think interesting they take that away. That seems to be the one answer. They weren't necessarily comfortable with playing up against Talia.
Yeah, there you have it.
And they opted in for the Orianna core book. And what does this speak to you?
I mean, they're just building the most standard comp you can have in the game, right? You're going off as pseudo frontliner. You have Engage as well from the Wukong. You got shielding and Engage to play for in the Orianna, and you have an Aphelios in the back, right? It's really just the most standard fundamental comp you can have that wants to team fight on LDLC.
And we're going to be rounding out the bot lane here. Kalista, obviously, was taken away in that second ban phase. Going to see a support here. It's going to be the Nautilus for the Kalista. Very much an engage bot lane and kill bot lane. And we're going to be seeing the final pick of the draft, which will be the jungler for Vitality B. I feel like Skeens played a lot of champions, opts in towards it, goes towards the Zinzal. For me, this is a space creation. It adds an element of space creation for the team.
So quite often, DOS will go for a champion like the Rakan instead. And I was actually going to say, I think he's going to, default to one of the Wardens instead, going for Braum or going for the Tahm Kench, just because of the lockdown you have here. I was looking at the champions. I think maybe I would have preferred Tahm Kench with, playing into the Nautilus, but having a Braum for laning phase and playing with that on the Aphelios with the Q on Severin that lets you insta-proc your stun, actually creates a lot of engage options, even with a lane that supposedly is supposed to be defensive. So I think that makes a lot of sense that they just want to round it up with that. We don't have a Silas locked in. That's an Aphelios just for you guys out there. But outside of that, LDLC, very standard comp. You want to play out the laning phase. You want to move it into the team fight stages later. You want to be first of the objective. You want to take control. A little easier on the top side with a Gnar into Gwen on the bot side. I'm not fully sure how the matchup is going to pan out, but specifically control on the first 3 waves, of course, is always quite necessary. It's easier for Jack Troll to have a roaming presence on the map, whereas on the side of DOS, it's more of a response to the roaming presence that Jack Troll is going to bring, being on that Braum into Nautilus. And then Diplex in the mid lane is going to be so pivotal in this game because it's really up to him to kind of, get the side lanes going.
I mean, Diplex for me, the one to watch. We've spoken about at the top of the day the immense win rate that this Talia pick has. It really can't be overstated how it's really ridiculously strong at the moment. I feel like Diplex a really key individual performer, one to watch, one of the more impressive mids for me in the entire LFL right now. I feel like if you're going to look at any individual player this game, it's definitely Diplex.
Diplex just turned 19, of course, as well, so a very young prospect in that regard as well. So someone to look forward to as well, and not had too many European Masters under his belt just yet, but he could try and make that difference now, heading into LDLC versus Vitality B.
We're going to be heading to a quick break, but we will be seeing you rather shortly for our match of the week.
I'll bring.
And welcome to what is set to be the most raucous affair of the entire week. Match of the week, LDLC atop the golden throne of the LFL, up against some potential playoff challenges that they might be facing off later in their playoff run. For now, Vitality B vying for seeding in this game, Gouldborg, in the early game. Talk me through it.
Well, we talked a little bit about it just before Champion Select, but once again, we decided to hone in on one prospect of Vitality B, and that prospect, of course, was Diplex on the Dalia. Finding a push into the lane and finding lanes to play for or skirmishes with schemes is going to be the name of the game. I think having early jungle tracking as well, quite important, but the problem for them is they can't venture too far into enemy territory because they're playing into a Braum. And because of that, you don't want to, walk into someone who's expecting you to try and go for that early intel. As soon as you get tacked up by the Winter Spite, even if you flash, you're pretty much dead every time. So that means that the offensive vision that they have cannot be as strong as they probably would have liked it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I feel like it's so important to kind of get a track of those junglers as well. And we spoke about how important it is for LDLC. You see Yike continually just having these like micro adaptations to his game, a lot further ahead in the kind of the pack in regards to a lot of other junglers in the LFL, where he gets those early wards out, he gets those little micro advantages, and he accrues them over the game. We speak about LDLC being a team that can build these small advantages and then bolster them and balloon them as the game state. They almost build advantages that come from nowhere. And that's something we've got to look at in this early game off of Yike. This first clear ends up being so pivotal so often for LDLC.
And I mean, even on the Wukong, I'm not sure he's going to be looking to influence too many lanes. There's not too much setup. I guess you can go for the bot lane and proc DOS passive quite easily. But even in that regard, I am expecting Vitality's bot lane to get priority down here. And with that, get the extra movement to move into the enemy jungle, drop a ward on this blue buff, keep the tracking going on Yike. Just due to the fact that, they have the time for it with the amount of pressure they have down in the bot side at the moment.
Yeah, most certainly. And just to circle back to that general jungle point, I mean, this Wukong, he already had a pretty slow clear. With some nerfs towards him, it's even slower now. You don't necessarily end up finishing a full clear if you opt into that towards the 320, 330 sometimes even mark. And that definitely means that Shigenda versus Ragnar, heavy trades in the early game. Ragnar gets the bared brunt of that. The scissors to his face is going to mean he needs to teleport back to the lane.
Yeah, so Gunda possibly wishing he took Ignite there. Could have tried to go for the all-in instead, but lots of trading in the early game, and Ragnar, I think he actually was having really good trades until the last EQ came out from Zagenda, really just putting him down while the cooldowns was there. Lane's crashing now, Jacktroll moving out, but fortunately gone for that sweep of dust. Trying to set up a little bit freeze, you can see it, they want to punish him for it, but don't have all the intel just yet. And with the wave being in this spot, it is slowly but surely a push towards Vitality B, but they decide to just break it apart, get a crash real quick. They know that the enemy jungler is going to be down that bot in a bit due to the Scuttle respawning as well.
We spoke about the implications. Sort of one of the things we talked about, that clear that we touched on earlier, the slower Wukong clear. A lot of times you see either a skipped camp, you might forego the Krugs, like for example Zinzal's done here, or you might even forego the Gromp to get an early timer on that Rift Scuttle, and they have to kind of play, it's the bluff game, right? Does he skip camps to come bot lane, or does he opt in for the full clear? What timer are we actually operating under? As you can see, he's actually just gone for the straight up full clear now into the Rift Scuttle. And that's going to mean that the Vitality B bot lane do get away safely with that crash.
And, that also puts it into the... I think it's a really good reset timer coming through from Jasklat. They get the crash, he goes for the Cheeto recall while he can. So now you have Boots and Dagger as a little bit of advantage. You can see the wave state coming in. While it's not perfect just yet, slowly but surely it should start pushing towards them. As you can see, a new minion wave starts coming in. They need to clean it up, and majority of the minions are red, not blue, which means that there's, of course, more gold to pick up from Jeskla now that he's back.
So he gets his lane. Has his minions and eats his cannon, I think is the phrase.
Freeze being broken a little bit. Minion DMAC coming out from Jacktroll, and in response from Dust as well.
A little bit of a back and forth here as the wave does ping pong, but still destined to head towards Vitality B.
Beans. Coming around as
here,
well.
though.
Sweeping. Can go around the alcove if he wants to. Jack Troll does have that flash if he's looking. No cleanse on Execute. He's gone for heal. That may cost him.
Troll gets spotted a little bit. I feel like the movement from Jack Troll should alert the LDLC bot lane a little bit as to the nature of this position. But Jack Troll's over the side here, finds the hook onto Dos. Dos has to flash away here. Skeens finds that Q3 though. The Execute has to flash any second now, but doesn't expend it. It's going to be the first world that goes away of Jeskler. Wonderful play set up for Vitality B.
And they needed to get this Kalista ahead as well. They needed a point of attack. The spears, so to say, from the Kalista, leaning them forward. Baiting out the flash from Dos, turning instantly with the knock-up on Execute afterwards. He gets too low, not even worth flashing out. He's going to be losing the wave coming through. A big lead to Jeskler and Vitality B's bot lane.
Absolutely, we compound upon that. The advantage that Shigenda was able to build himself in that early trade means that he's up around 10 CS as well, and kind of a little bit slowing down on all fronts. And I feel like it's important to say that LDLC, very well-rounded compositions, but it's almost as if one side of it slacks, then the balance can teeter a bit, if you get what I'm saying, Gulborg.
Definitely can. Ragnar hitting level 6 now, so does Shigenda, same time around, but as soon as you go into minis, Shigenda has a moment, he can get aggressive. Mid lane support can be there as well from Diplex. He does have that priority if he wants to move up. Even Skeens is around the area, and Ragnar, he's getting overly aggressive here. Shigenda freezing the wave right outside of his turret. This is a great position for him to have the lane in.
Definitely not the rags to riches story we would have liked to see from Ragnar so far, as it's fallen a little bit of a deficit. Doesn't quite get punished for the wave state at the moment, and LDLC yet to strike in this game. Yet to get their footing on it, but looking around this first dragon now, with the priority garnered in the bot lane, you see Jessica looking for a freeze there. Should mean that they move up and potentially look for this dragon. A little bit slower as Skeens, but if they won the fight, you can imagine they'd be able to worm their way in, but with the bot lane wave state and the way it is, they've got to make a decision right now.
Still no flash on Dos if they wanted to look, but not necessarily looking for it just yet. Drake has spawned, and LDLC, they are in a position where they can start that off. Mid lane priority has been gained. Diplex does have level 6 himself if he wants to join, but playing into Braum can be deadly, specifically when Iga has that shockwave as well. Remember, LDLC's composition very much designed to thrive in the teamfight moments, and I think Vitality B, they identify this and they just play for the lanes instead. Diplex can move up towards the top side if he wants to try and threaten a dive on Ragnar, but it looks like he's out of mana and he's going to reset.
You talk about playing for the lanes and how important it is for Vitality B. You'd imagine then that the priority has to shift towards that Rift Herald in terms of getting some of those plates potentially onto someone like your Diplex, like your Shigenda. We're 30 seconds away now, and do you see Vitality B being in a position whereby they can kind of get their cemented aggression onto the water?
Definitely look for it. For now, it just looks like they want to push out the top lane here. Ragnar could get aggressive, but Wave not in a good state for Shigenda. What he tried to do there was just he needed a back desperately because of that. Tried to burn the ultimate to get the crash. Ragnar actually blows the freeze as well. Just let it to crash. Shigenda can now get the recall himself. And we're but just back to even footing here. Rift Herald has just spawned. He hit that 8-minute mark, but no rotations are coming out from any of the supports just yet. LDLC can get a crash towards that bot side. They can go for the reset, and then they can send Dust off towards the top side to try and get the Rift Herald for themselves.
Yeah, you feel as if Yike might have started this a little bit too quickly though, because look at the kind of 3 pincered movement in. Talia has move. A little bit of time has to play with. Dos is the one who has first move though after that bot lane crash here. He's got level 6 as well. He's going to march himself right through the mid lane. Hopefully Aphelios can keep himself safe from that impending crash. You know, obviously the Kalista reaching level 6. A little bit dangerous for him, but it doesn't look as if they're going too aggressively. Now, most importantly, Exekick is zoned away from like 2 waves here.
Yeah, that's the thing. Essentially, just getting that Rift Elf of 3 through that bot lane. Priority that we gained. But as you just set yourself there, Exekick, he's forced to just give up the wave right now. He's been starved a little bit. But you have a Rift Herald to put to work. One good roam down towards the bottom side to kind of fill in the extra gold on the Aphelios again. Won't be too bad. And despite him being zoned away, you look at the CS differential. It's still a little lead to Exekick, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it doesn't miss out from too much, only about a wave or so. It makes the lane a little bit more even, but now with that Rift Herald, about playing for the lanes, we talked about just a minute or two ago how important it was for Vitality B to be the team that did that, sort of play towards these lanes, got those leads, and they've not been able to do that. It's going to be LDLC who actually take the Rift Herald out from underneath their noses, so to speak. And in terms of
It
where you're
feels
looking...
like, yeah, sorry, it just feels like Diplex haven't really left his mark in the first 10 minutes of the game. Like, didn't get the push in too much, haven't really skirmished around with Skeens either. A good kill in the bot lane, but outside of that for Vitality, really there haven't been too much action. Jack Troll.
Jack Troll looks for a hook, but it's going to be a swing and a miss, and he goes rather strangely aggressive there. There was no one really anywhere near. You'd imagine the thought process there is that he's stopping a lone recall, but it's LDLC, and although they're
even going
sigil,
into the 2v2, that would have been bad. Oh,
Shigenda has used Ghost here. Ragnar has flash available if he so needs to. He flashes away from it. Q does not land though on the back end of that, and it's going to be Shigenda getting a summoner advantage around 90 seconds or so to play with.
Yes, again, he needs to be careful though, because Ragnar will hit Mega Knight a bit, and now he does not have that needlework to play around with, and Ragnar, he knows this, that's why he's getting aggressive again in lane. Karim's in the river as well to shadow him. Diplex moving up as well. Scuttle has just been taken. Let's see if they can actually get up here. Try and take care of Ragnar. Doesn't look like it. Ragnar, he gets the crash. Diplex back into the mid lane. And both top laners still safe in this instance.
It's going to be him basing. Couldn't quite get that aggression that we so aforementioned. But so far, a relatively slow game with a killer piece. 1,000 gold in it or so. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Gorborg, is in terms of, we've got around 3 minutes and 45 seconds to play with in terms of these plates. Where would you like to see that Rift Herald go? Where does it need to go to kind of get the most amount of value out of it?
I feel like at this point where you can't really take down an entire turret, you just want to get the crash at the mid lane, get a little gold into Icon, make sure you can get it on the second take instead, and just start opening up the map. It's so crucial that LDLC composition gets to be first on objective, because they're so oriented around team fighting, having the ball to create space, having to kite back for Aphelios. So opening up the mid lane will allow them to get way more aggressive with their aggressive vision.
As you can see, they're kind of circling around the bot lane a little bit here. Obviously the wave is going to be crashing relatively soon. Skeens and Diplex. Tandem in 2 here. Going to be cycling through those camps and into the mid lane now. We speak about how important it is for LDLC to get first on the objective. A Rift Herald should certainly help them to be able to do so. They spawn that in the mid lane. Now only 10 seconds to go, Gorborg.
Yeah. And our bot lane priority has been gained a little bit. Looks like Skeens is getting caught.
Has Flash Ignite onto him, ultimate and heal. Oh, heal, sorry. Shigenda trading up with Ragnar on the top side as well, though. But LDLC win the space in the mid lane. They're going to be potentially using that Rift Herald. Not quite, though. Still have it. They're going to be getting position onto the dragon now.
Shigenda.
Shigenda versus Ragnar. This could go the full distance here. Ragnar has Mega Gnar. No flash available. Shigenda has nothing to get away from this, though. Ragnar. It's a good dodge from Shigenda. Looking at the bot side now. Rift Herald's been spawned. But it's been spawned in such a way that you feel as if LDLC will not be able to crash this.
Sorry, was that a mistake? Sorry, can we see that? Where's the Rift Herald? Did it even charge?
No,
Rift Herald's where?
I don't know what they've done there. I was about to say, like, the dreams of topside there. You saw a bit of a kind of a exchanged fight between the two top laners. It was a complete nightmare in the bot side.
I think Yike just tried to sweep her and they just accidentally used the Rift Herald there.
We're going to have to check a replay on that, but I think that might actually be what have happened.
I think that's exactly what happened in that instance. Together though, the top side, you know.
It's the clone.
Really not. That's a guy, not a clone.
Skeens.
What an interesting game.
Well. Good book. Brief break from pace. I wanted to bring up one of the things for me that is most notable in this game that has a complete metaphorical sense but no actual tangible, you know, kind of presence within the game. Vitality versus LDLC. If we look at the sigils, we look at the iconography. It's wasps, bees versus wolves. And I feel like how many bees...
foxes. They're foxes.
Foxes, sorry. How many bees / wasps do you think would be needed to take down a fox? If you had to guess.
Well, I think either way the fox would never take down the wasp, you know?
True. That is actually a very good point. It's a war of attrition, isn't it?
It really is. I think more for the wasp. It's around playing cleverly around the spacing of the wasp. Kite the wasp.
And I feel like this is how I'm going to tie it in to make sense here, Gulborg. I feel like narratively that has a presence within this game because Vitality B in terms of just going into this game, you're kind of having to wile and kind of maneuver yourself against the charms of LDLC and how they've been able to maneuver themselves. Here, LDLC come up with a move of their own here. Shigenda's going to have to pop the ghost almost immediately.
He's dead.
We spoke about that. The Fox strikes.
And just like that, Shigenda, he was so used to just be aggressive without any jungle intention on Ragnar the whole game. So I think he got into a habit where he could just be up in lane, where he didn't have to ward up the bushes. And then because of that, he gets caught off guard. He did have a ward in his trinket available. Just didn't use it in the bush, and because of that, gets punished immediately. Ragnar, he opens up, and he's been playing out this lane beautifully. They're the best top laners we have, or Scalper Shot as well, in the LFL between these three. Yeah, it's a masterclass for Ragnar in terms of a 9 to the Gwen matchup for now.
And I think it's important just to kind of note that he was at a major deficit towards his early levels. He took that unbeneficial trade for himself, and that meant he had to teleport back to the lane. And it's been Shigenda time and time again, getting those ultimates, getting pressing the advantage, pressing the attack. But there's been a brief shift in the previous minutes, whereby we saw in that previous exchange when Ragnar had Mega Gnar, it's only a small dodge that really escaped. Oh, Shigenda escaped from death there. You can see now the matchup starting to shift in momentum for Ragnar. And what kind of implications does this have for the game if Ragnar can win the side lane, Goldborg?
I mean, he never will win the side lane when Shigenda finally picks up the 2 items. So right now it has the implication that you buy yourself extra space, you buy yourself extra pressure. It'll probably matter for the next Drake, but it probably won't matter for Soul. And I think LDLC, they're just going to be playing around with the spacing to try and just extend their gold lead with what they have. Crucially though, they're not getting this Rift Herald. I think that's quite interesting with the way the lanes have played out so far.
Yeah, you'd imagine just off the back of just what, if you think about recent history, that top lane turret being taken, so many resources being able to be put in that. We spoke about the momentum shift there, but then for the Rift Herald to be taken, you feel as if LDLC dropped the ball a little bit on a rotation there. You can imagine they'd be able to take that for themselves. And we spoke about how, I mean, one of the things that we were setting up as a point is putting that Rift Herald in the mid lane to set up priority for that dragon. Then you'd need that second revisit, but fortunately we never really got to see what happened to that mysterious Rift Herald. It's the mystery that
it's not to be spoken about.
It's the the Rift Herald that shall not be named, the Lord Voldemort of Rift Heralds.
Of neutral objectives.
The Dark.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Dark Lord. It's one of those things. If you mention that Rift Herald, then you get like a man in like a black suit with like black sunglasses in a van that like turns up to your house. And, like,
sounds like Men in Black coming through now, just raising your memory.
That was
that Rift Herald.
That was the reference, Goldborg. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Bit of a stretch going from Harry Potter, you know, the Mentors and all of that, all of a sudden to Men in Black. But
well, you know,
either way,
I'm completely demented, Goldborg. But speaking of things that are, what can we expect? What can we expect of Patronum from this game in the next coming minutes, Goldborg?
Actual looking to get aggressive on either DOS or Execute. He does have that ultimate. Should he look for it? Diplex.
Oh, yikes. Been cancelled on his EQ here. Execute also gets knocked up as well. DOS with an ultimate in tandem and co. Response. Skeens gets knocked up as well. They'll see if Walkden ways away here. Fate's Call comes out. It's a big Ophelia assault as well, though. Oh, and Execute gets knocked back by the Talia W, and they do find a kill eventually. This is going to be a Rift Herald that does get used correctly. They're going to find the bot lane turret.
There we have it. Should open it up down on the bot side as well. Brilliant from Diplex as well. Finding that knockback onto Axekick in response to the mid lane. Ragnar is looking for a tower himself. Really look like anyone's going to be around. You can see Diplex trying to make his way up there, but he's going to be too late. They trade tower for a tower, but crucially, Vitality B does manage to pick up a kill.
Yeah, completely. We spoke about how Diplex needed to have that first strike in this game. We talked about how he had a kind of a quiet first 10 minutes, not really able to put that roaming advantage onto the map, kind of extend that influence onto the rest of his team, but now striking back with a kill for himself. We speak about how much damage this champion has later stages of the game as a Hextech Dragon. Vitality B have first move on it. The token said it time and time again, if LDLC don't get first move on the objective, it's not going to be objective that goes their way.
There we have it. They break it apart, but Ragnar, I mean,
split push genius
calling
this
a
game.
Delusionist at this point. He keeps taking down every structure on the map. We saw him in the top side. We see him in the mid lane now picking up 600 gold for himself and the wave as well to get the crash.
Well, you know, he's definitely... We talked about the best of both worlds for Miley Cyrus in the pre-game, but he's a wrecking ball this game, is Ragnar. Just completely being, like you said, the Demolitionist, taking down multiple structures. And I found the connection, Goldborg, between Harry Potter and Men in Black.
Oh, did you know?
It's because Daniel Radcliffe, the guy who plays Harry Potter, was also in a film called Women in Black. So, you know, we're bringing it both genders today.
Was that horror movie?
Yeah, it's like it's all right. It's not bad. I wouldn't recommend people go and watch it.
I heard about it.
That was the connection.
Thank you so much. And now,
speaking of connecting, talk me through the next oncoming minutes, because we've got 4 minutes until the next dragon. You can imagine that's quite a ways off in the distance. But Baron now spawning with LDLC a little bit further along their acceleration in terms of items, a little bit further along in terms of their identity as a team fighting unit. Ragnar so enabled in the side lane. What's next for them?
I think, like, LDLC is not really looking to get aggressive on the towers. Like, I think what we're going to be seeing is just a split map situation where Vitality, they're going to be playing through bot side of Sigenda, and then LDLC, they're going to be playing top side. You can see how they're trimming away the jungle on the top side. Well, LDLC, they're going to do the same on the bot side as well, with the camps respawning. Skeen's now picking up enemy blue buff. It just have the implications that Diplex currently won't have that blue buff himself. They're going to be missing that a little bit. So in that trade, it's not going to be looking too hot, but it's still 3 minutes until that Drake response. I think we're not going to be seeing too much. We're just going to see tit for tit, tat for tat on the map.
Yeah, it's a bit of a response. We spoke about how much of a ping-pong kind of session this game has been so far. Very, very slow in many ways. 4 kills in 20 minutes, obviously. But it's been a game of action, I think it's fair to say. Although it's not been precipitated by mass displays of grandiose kind of combat, definitely been a game where it's played on 2 fronts. See LDLC try and stop out the aggression from Vitality B. Flash forward onto DOS, though. Over the wall is Diplex. As he come in, Weaver's wall. Orianna Shockwave does go wide, though, and it's going to be DOS who gets taken out. Ragnar, though. Mega Gnar goes in here. He going to get it, though. It's a kick with the ultimate as well, but Ragnar has to flash away. You thought he was going to have a massive run up there and just go for the hero play, turn the team fight around, but lovely layering of CC there from Vitality B to make it so that play never got off the ground.
Oh yeah, 100%. And good team fight once again from Vitality. I think crucially in this game, reason why it's gone so quiet for LDLC is that Iker, he seems a little, well, quiet himself this game. Some of the shockwaves not been connecting there. That team fight as well whiffed onto Diplex. He's not been able to find his mark just yet. He is sitting on 2 items on the Orianna, and he finally connects with one. It is going to hurt like a truck. He's 2 level from 16 as well. When that comes through, well, none of the short-range champions of Jeskler, and again, they can be caught off guard, but luckily they do have that Hallowed Mist, and even Skeen does have that Crescent Strike, so it gives them room to play around with.
And so I feel like there's an inherent pressure that comes along with picking this Orianna pick. I think like as a champion you don't see much of. You're picking it to fulfill a purpose within this team composition. So you better make sure that that purpose is being fulfilled. You know what I mean? And it's very much the case that he needs to be the one landing these big shockwaves. It's a big load of... It's a big albatross that Iker himself is wearing around his neck this game. And he's got to be able to kind of manifest that destiny for his team.
Does find a minion wave here, seeing if he could catch someone off guard who is leading it in. I think crucially as well, what's giving LDLC some momentum and some map control themselves, albeit this map state right now with the vision control you can currently see is very Vitality B favored, is the fact that Ragnar is still in a position where he's pushing out Sigenda. Finished out that Force of Nature as well in the item slot, but Sigenda now is coming through with a Void Staff to try and mitigate some of that extra magic resist in the Gnar.
Yeah, that early Void stuff is really going to do a lot in terms of just shredding. You see the Merc Treads obviously available onto 2 members as well, DOS and Yike with that as well. Giving you a little bit more resistance shreds, and he's going to be an absolute beast with that Ghost at a certain point. Once he reaches that level 16 mark, 3rd item as well. He's going to be actually able to tear apart LDLC, but LDLC's composition, it's all about just creating space, kiting back, jutting and flitting out of a lot of these kind of engages that Vitality B can offer. If you avoid the kind of initial burst, I feel like LDLC have a lot to play with.
Ragnar looking as well, getting aggressive on the mini now here.
Important to note is, as of the last team fight, doesn't have that flash available, but they back and fan the flames a little bit, and LDLC, Vitality B rather, if they commit towards this 4th dragon, they might...
So what's happening right here is just the fact that they've started up the Baron here, but the thing is, I don't think they're looking to take the Baron. They're just looking to turn. Sigenda's alone on the Drake themselves, and here they come. They actually take it.
This is what I was trying to say, Cool, but they're just going to fully commit to it. I feel like Sigenda, if he goes towards that dragon, he runs the risk of a Baron just being taken, and you almost feel as if LDLC very happy with this trade.
Oh, 100%. They get to play in the side lanes now as well. They get to play with the map state. Mid lane gets to fall, Drake gets to fall as well, but in the grand scheme of things, getting that Baron buff for LDLC is surely a victory for them in this regard.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you there. Vehemently, Goldborg. I feel like Vitality B don't respond to the bluff, or a perceived bluff, what they viewed it as. They were thinking, like you were saying, they had the similar opinion to you, that's just a turn play, just play for the dragon as well. Shagenda is the one that goes towards that dragon. They think they can buy a little bit more time and then actually go and contest, but LDLC, never the ones to take their foot off the gas when they've got it. They do not go for the bluff play. They fully commit towards that.
Absolutely crazy that it's not coming from picks either, right? It's literally just decision making. 2 kills on LDLC. That's what they have. But they still managed to gain a 2k gold lead despite being back in that.
Oh, DOS. You need to W out of here. He's going to be able to do that eventually. Shigenda's here as well, but it does cost the teleport from both teams. Diplex is going to use that as well as Ragnar.
Well, you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and they survive for not a day.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yep, that's the joke.
You just didn't pronounce it well enough. But
Oh, well, I am Danish after all, right?
Speaking of things that aren't pronounced dead at the scene, Vitality B still a lifeline in this game, only 2.4k down in this game, still quite flatlining on the heart monitor, showing signs of life, as previously mentioned, but falling a little bit further behind, and you'd imagine that LDLC should be able to take some of these out. I take a bit more of these objectives, build that gold lead with the Baron remaining. 3 minutes until the next dragon.
And still, no soul point. I mean, there's not really going to be a soul you're fighting for here. Either team can just give up the Drake if they want to, but in the end, I feel like LDLC should be the team favored for that in 3 minutes, just because of the map control they'll be able to regain for themselves. You can even see it now. Should just, yep, mid lane priority. I think Ika just picked up the blue buff for himself. Should allow them, yep, there he has it, to pick in the mid lane all the time. And once they do that, should try and get aggressive in the enemy jungle. But right now, they're just looking for a pick on Jeskla potentially.
Going in here, Yike can find Jeskla. Flash away from Jeskla almost immediately. It's going to mean his safety is granted. Teleport in from Shigenda into the fray. As both teams circle each other. R from DOS does land onto Skeens. Ragnar's in, but it gets cancelled by the Xin Zhao ultimate. Has to flow in the flash away as well. Fate's Call comes out to bring away Jack Troll. And LDLC going to have the move through mid lane. It's going to be difficult for Vitality B to get in through here with the shockwave available from Ika.
Yeah, they're going to get
see that
pincered.
ball.
No way for them to get in here. Another minion wave is going to come in a bit. Diplex the only one able to get around. The minion wave coming now, and members of Vitality B recalling. This tower should just be LDLC's.
It's important to note as well, if they step up and contest, Ragnar has that Mega Gnar now. Able to slam someone to the wall. Not going to look for too much beyond that turret, but this is what we were expecting. One final engage. Jack Troll with a flash. Double stasis almost immediately. Stopwatch, it could be the bait of the century. Ragnar's in. It's 2 people eviscerated. It's 2 people emboldened by LDLC. Ika's in as well. And doesn't have the shockwave, but looking for a lot of damage. Has the Shadow Flame. Diplex with a lot of Qs rattling out here. Double flash. But Ika has to walk out through the front entrance, walk out through the gates. And the gates are being opened. The party has been invaded. As the LDLC, the Wandering Travelers, into the base of Vitality B. Benefit from a strange flash from Jack Troll there. They're going to get an inhibitor for themselves and an inhibitor turret as well.
This is just looking so great. They can pick up these few objectives for themselves. They'll at least have the super minions in the top side. Naked inhibitor in the mid lane can just go for the recalls now. Or recalls rather. Get the aggressive vision in the red side jungle. Reset and get ready for the Drake that will respawn in 1 minute. Everything should just go over in the favor of LDLC here. I can't see a way by Vitality B gets in.
We
get through some crazy vision. Well, fuck it.
We've spoken about this before, Goldborg, for a team like LDLC, how they just turn games on their heads from such small advantages. I think back to a previous game whereby they were down so much gold, and it was that fight, you remember around mid lane, they found the small pick that then just completely ballooned into a further 3 picks, which then ballooned into a further Baron control, and they're a team that will just take your entire arm if you give them even a finger, and they've done that exactly here. One misstep from Jack Troll spells disaster for the structures of Vitality B, and now 5,000 gold lead or so in the lead. 20 seconds on the dragon. Ragnar might be caught out here. Has the Mega Gnar available into the wall here. Yike over the wall with a flash. Wukong ultimate. Jack Troll gonna get taken out as well. Shigenda gets knocked up as well. Jeskla can't dash away from that. Talia Diplex is not going to be able to do anything, and it's 4 members of Vitality B that just fall and are routed at the dragon.
Vitality B, they're walking into that one, but they're walking into Ragnar, who's had an absolute massive performance this game. MVP in my mind for sure with the way he's played the 9 to Gwen matchup. and just taking tower after tower in this game, now setting his team up for the perfect team fight. They get the Drake, and now they're pushing in the bottom side of the map. They should be able to get
You can't
the
walk in.
inhibitor if they decide to go for it, but it looks like they're going to get the recall. They're going to go for the Baron that's spawning in 30 seconds.
You just can't walk into Ragnar like that. He's just at the apex of his powers right now with the Randuin's Omen building towards that Guardian Angel. It's just not enough damage there. We spoke about how important the level 16 mark would be for Chigenda, that third item. He's not at that third item mark yet. He can't kind of, you know, just completely melt through the resistances that are available for Team LDLC, and time again they're being given the beneficial conditions that they want here. 2 people in from the Hex deck. Yike as well. Ike's here as well. Jack Troll thought he was safe here, but the cavalry is here. And it's a brigade that spells disaster. Diplex is in though, onto Exit Kick. What can he do here? W is blocked by Stasis. Exit Kick with the T-pose from the Affiliate Assault. He's posing himself for a victory here. Diplex has to walk away here. Gets slowed down by the Braum Q. He's going to get taken out by Iker for a killing spree. And they're not even going to look towards the Baron. They might just look for an end, Gulborg.
I mean, they got the top lanes pushing in with minions if they're patient enough, but why wait for them when you can just push down the mid lane here? 3 members alive. Jack Troll spawning in 1 second. There was something to play for Vitality, but LDLC, they've been ruthless so far in these sieges.
LDLC dropped the ball recently against Go, but they're looking to put the ball in their own hands at the moment as they look for their final team fight of the game. R2 from Wukong is going to take out Skeens, and he's skinned alive as Vitality B. Foxes versus Bees, and they come up stung, Gulborg.
Absolute masterclass from LDLC. They barely needed the kills to succeed with this one. Just 10 minutes ago, they were only sitting at 2. Now they're sitting at 15, and they didn't even need the minions. They're taking care of the last 2 Nexus turrets, and with that regard, only the Nexus to defeat LDLC remain the strongest team we have in the LFL.
And in the ERLs, they blew this game wide open against one of the competition for that second spot in the team. The gap between these 2 teams, it was an even game up until around 20 minutes. But LDLC just slowly but slowly, they wedge open the game with their crowbar-like macro. And they close this one out with brutal efficiency.
And I also just feel like it's so classic from LDLC. So many times do we see a slow pace, laning phase.